We're increasing the performance of the window and the wall assembly by doing a high performance installation.
Correct,
So,
that's a great way of putting it.
yeah,
That's
so we're separating the 3 barriers.
Hello, we're in Swisher, Iowa again. This is our Pruess passive house. We're at the stage now where we're installing windows and doors. And we have a window and door installation specialist with us. So I'd like to have him introduce himself. And then we'll talk today about installing windows, fine-tuning the windows to get them to work the way we want to, and then we'll wrap up with how we insulate, bring that thermal barrier around, and air seal the windows. So Doug, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah.
Maybe who you are, where you come from.
I'm Doug Pruess. I am a PHI certified tradesman. I'm an installation master trainer and do a lot of work with Alpen in the Midwest. Also service tech and installation. So kind of going through and integrating high efficiency windows into high efficiency openings. So this is the window that we're going to demonstrate that on. This is a triple pane tilt and turn window. We've already done the adjustments where it works correctly, square, plumb, and level. So this is the air control area barrier that actually comes in from the zip system. So the outside of the zip system is going to be our air barrier. And what we did, so we can allow proper drainage, what we did was actually bring in this system. This is a liquid flash. On the other openings we use a tape, but we're actually just wrapping that air control layer into this side. And then now we have to integrate the inside of the window, which is going to be our air barrier surface, to that. So what we're doing is it's kind of thinking 3D, where we're bringing that surface from the outside to the inside for the whole reason to allow for proper water management on the sill, because this is a slope sill. So we have to think of how do we stop air but allow water to seep through, because this window openings are going to be your first horizontal surface that are going to show you if you have a problem of water running in your wall or offside your wall. So we properly shimmed it. It's all been leveled, plumb, square, and now we just need to select what kind of installation we're using here. That's usually going to be site specific.
Yeah, and we've kind of been going back and forth, right? I mean, we've been talking about, Todd has his own biases, I have my own biases, and we're kind of pulling Doug in to be the expert on this, but we've been kind of back and forth. Like, what do we use for our thermal, to increase the thermal resistance here in this connection? Do we use a loose fill product like fiberglass or mineral wool? Do we use spray foam? What do we use to accomplish that? And we were talking about, I think this product is great, but it really, like you've told me over and over, that what this product really does rely on being loose. If we make it too tight to get it into this gap, then we're going to eliminate its function, because it really needs to have a certain amount of air in here to really get the R value out of it. Yep. And that's been my concern. If we have a big gap, a relatively decent sized gap, we can loosely fit this in there pretty nicely and get it exactly where we want. But in other parts of the window, that gap's going to be small, and it's going to be hard to use this product. So the other thing then we're leaning towards using is spray foam.
Yep. And all accomplish the goal of completing the thermal barrier. So it really just depends on the customer, the developer, the builder, whatever everybody's comfortable with. That'll help it go, equal product success.
Yep.
So,
and this is just two options. There are as many options as I have fingers and toes.
I've seen sheep wool, I've seen hemp stuff.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's right. We'd even talked about products like Hanoband and those kinds of things can serve that same function, where it'll give us a air seal and give us our thermal barrier as well. But okay, well maybe we should try some of this stuff, huh?
Sure. Which one are we doing on this?
let's just do spray foam on that gap and
So just make sure you have a window and door rated foam, proper operating temperature, and so this gap is bigger at the bottom and smaller at the top. So I'm just trying my best to get it towards the back.
right. So if this is applied perfectly, then that product is going to be all the way to the front of the house or the back of this connection. Yep. And I think some people use this product for their thermal barrier and their air barrier, but you know, there's some real concerns about, in my mind, of this product delaminating over time and you're losing your air barrier. So
yeah, there's been studies in Europe where over time a spray insulation home, when you air test it, gets leakier and leakier over time, and that's just settling of the building, delamination, shrinking of dimensional lumber.
Yep.
But for this, we're not using it as air barrier, even though it does kind of accomplish that.
Yeah.
But for long-term resiliency, we're going to switch over to more of a tape system, or here we're actually going to be using a sealant. So spray foaming, you're going to try to do your best to control. After this gets less tacky, we're going to throw our little backer rods in here. So we're going to let that set up first, just so we're not making a mess. Yep, right in there.
That'll work, right? Yeah. Okay, so we've used spray foam. We let that kind of tack up a bit, and then now we're just putting a backer rod in there. So it's relatively snug. Yep, anything. Yep. And then we'll come back and caulk that here in a bit.
Yep. So a backer rod is going to prevent three-sided adhesion, and it's going to allow for a proper bead, I would call architecture, the way it's meant to stick. So it's for long-term resilience. I'm just going to get it to a point. I mean, I would say up here, this is about as far as we can get in. So probably just going to get it torn off. Make sure our surfaces are clean. So you can also rub these down with like a lacquer thinner to kind of clean the surfaces before you seal. Yep. Jeff's got a bigger gap, so he's using a bigger backer rod.
I may even need a bigger one for the top.
So because of the drive now, if you look outside, there's pretty decent wind going on, and it's cold outside and it's warm in here. So if I put my hand around where the shims are, you can actually start feeling a little bit of air coming through at that point. And the reason you feel it at the bottom is because we skip caulked the bottom sill. So it's probably just kind of differential pressure trying to equalize, which is why we like using the air barrier to the inside also.
So the nozzle on there, you cut at a bevel. And yep, and you cut it bigger because our gap here was a little bit bigger, but yep. It's also going to work on these other surfaces and stuff, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm. So after that's done, now we just integrated this side of the window to the air barrier. So just something as simple as that. So it looks like you're using the AirGuard stuff on this one. The AirDam works pretty well. You can also use a sealant. No, we're just trying to show everybody like the different products that you can get everywhere, and they all accomplish. Definitely make sure you read the compatibilities and make sure you're putting something that shouldn't be somewhere. Both of these products are meant for this kind of application, and accomplishes what we're looking for.
Yeah, no, it looks perfect.
So yeah, looks good with the backer rod, nice and smooth.
Yeah.
That'll be resilient also for any kind of movement that happens.
Yeah.
Because wood and this product are they going to move at different rates, so we need a sealant that moves with it.
Yeah, perfect. I think there's one other thing I wanted to ask you, and then one other thing I wanted to mention. So again, I'm not selling products. I'm not trying to tell someone what to use, but one of the reasons we did choose to use Alpen windows, there were multiple reasons, but one of the reasons we did choose to Alpen was because of you. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but I mean, the experience over the last 2 days has been very valuable. I think not just for me at a higher level, because I'm not installing windows. It's not what I do for a living. But it's been very good for me. I think even for the general contractor, Todd, it's been very good for him. And definitely for, our installation crew, Austin and his crew. It's been invaluable.
Yeah, they're great.
Now, again, I think they do an awesome job on the windows that they're accustomed to using, but we're using a window, one that we've never installed before, and we're trying to use a high performance window, which this is much higher performance than we used in the past. And it's just been invaluable. And then to have had you on site, I mean, I suspect that if I call you in, a week and just say, hey, this is going on and I'm having trouble, having that resource is very valuable to us. We also had one of our windows come broken. Yeah. And, which happens, it happens all the time. And
shipping issues happen. The plant's already rebuilding a new sash. It's kind of one of those, we just kind of roll with it, and it's construction. It never all works out.
Yeah, of course. But to have someone like you that's a facilitator, like I'm sure Alpen would have been very responsive to me too. But to have you, like I sent them pictures, but to have you in the background also facilitating that, you speak their language, they know you real well.
We're just trying to take the mystique out of high efficiency. I think really what it is with the install is really nothing different than what you're used to of a high efficiency product. But when you're pairing a high efficiency product into a high efficiency wall assembly and you're going after certifications, this is when these little details matter. But if we start teaching the correct ways, then it takes the mystique out of using high efficiency products. Right. For me, yeah, even if you put a triple pane window that you're used to using from your local lumberyard, there is certain ways of, as long as you're meeting air infiltration, that you can still install it the same way like this. The more you have these buildings on the street that you can notice is right next to that one, it's going to kind of look relatively the same. Yep. But this energy bill could be 20, 30, 40% more efficient. We don't know. We'll find out.
We're going to find out.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I love about it. And, yeah, I appreciate you having me out.
Yeah, of course. Okay, one thing I wanted to talk about. So, on one of the windows in this house, we used the Zip liquid flash to, prep the window. Most of the windows we're using tape. And, like I say, my guys are doing a great job and we're watching them carefully, but it doesn't always get done perfectly. I mean, it's just always the way it is. And one of the things that we struggle with a little bit is when we're taping these rough openings, making that 90-degree turn. We often end up with, these kinds of soft turns, I guess is the best way to describe it. We're making that 90 at a 45-degree angle or something, and it looks like such a trivial little thing, but it can actually lead to problems, right?
Little hiccups like this, not a big deal. Like over time, we learn while we throw tape down, you can use like a sharp edge, like a shim. So while you put it down, you can take a sharp edge, just get it tucked up in there and then come around. Yep. Also, we can always just do detail work and come back, and we can do detail work like there's a gap right here also in the framing. We can basically just take the whole system and fill it. So there we go. So basically just something as simple as that. Yep. Now, the best thing about it is you noticed it when we can actually do something about it. So make sure you have a qualified and competent person to go around and actually look at these things. Because rarely is everybody on a job site completely trained to the point of like a FIAS tradesman or something like that. So everybody giving it a look, it's everybody kind of working together, and it's not really what did you do wrong. It's something of, hey, this is what we look for next time. This is how we fix it. Exactly. There's a couple different types. This is called fin trim from a company called Siga. This stuff isn't cheap, but it is cool. So this is how you put it on. This is the interior surface of your windows, right? This is your exterior. We're actually color coded, black's out, white's in. So it's got one side that's sticky, and what we're gonna do, it's a pressure sensitive acrylic. And so what that means is that's just like, did you see those guys outside with the zip tape and they use a roller to put it up? Okay, that's a PSA tape, pressure sensitive acrylic. The harder you push it, the more of a chemical bond that happens. PSA tape sometimes smells like Band-Aids, so because it's kind of the same stuff. That's why we moved on from like asphalt tape. Asphalt tape actually melts vinyl. We don't use that stuff anymore. We used to use butyl tape. A lot of people do use butyl tape still. That's great. That's fine. Just when it gets to a certain temperature, it likes to fall off the wall. So that's why we keep advancing tape technologies. But yeah. So we're going to put this on. Give it some pressure. A lot of times these companies will give you like a little scraper that you can actually like.
You have the blue burnishing tool that's got the round corner. And
I think Jeff's got one.
Okay, I like those.
All right, here's what's different about these corners is that what we want to do is create a little pig ear here and go past. So there, I'll show you what that's all about. All right, so now we're going to be using the SIGA system. We completely understand that this is the exterior system. We meant to use the IS, but this is just kind of more for educational. It's the same kind of application. So we're properly shimmed. Our shims are cut back. Now we're going to integrate our thermal barrier with some spray foam insulation. Which, like we said before, you can use mineral wool, you can use fiberglass, whatever works best for you, or is spec'd on the project. All right, that's your insulation barrier. Now we're gonna take this release off of our SIGA tape. So for this, we're just showing one side. Normally we're gonna be pulling the release tape for the whole side. So for the whole window. So I'm gonna try to get it back into there, and then now I'm just pressing. There's also a tool for it. Sometimes you can use shims where you wanna get a good pressure on this PSA adhesive that's there. SIGA actually even has a tool for it too. So now this is, we're properly shimmed, we're properly set, we spray foamed, and now we pulled the release taper, and this is adhered. So this is adhered to the side of the window, this is adhered to our air barrier layer, and simple as that.
One of the benefits of having you around is helping us deal with some of the issues that we have. And again, every build is going to have their problems. We just solved a problem with a tape job that wasn't perfect. And, and then here, our rough opening's a little bit bigger than we would like. You know, and under ideal conditions, we want this rough opening to be smaller. Maybe a half an inch would be ideal, maybe even a little less than that, up to 3/4 of an inch. But here we're dealing with a rough opening that's over an inch on this side. And so we want to create our thermal break or barrier, and we're going to use spray foam in that. But achieving our air tightness in this location is a little challenging, I think. So how should we deal with this, Doug?
Yeah, so on top of all of that, we also have a situation where this door profile doesn't come with a nail fin. So that's how we are integrating our WRB on the windows. Now, how are we doing it on the doors? So what we decided works well for this opening is we actually flushed the door to the outside and we taped over on the frame. So that completes that. Yep. So right now, we shim behind this is called a masonry strap, anchor bracket. So we shim behind, so we create some counter pressure where we screwed. So now it's very locked in. We also talked about how we're going to get interior trim in here. So we decided to cut the shims back and actually bend these over. So as long as they're shimmed, we're good to go. So you're going to fill this with mass insulation. Also, what we see a lot of time on tests is after you tape these, that a lot of air infiltration tries to get through where the strap is. So we can use different systems to get around it. This is just kind of one of those, just think outside the box, how do we handle this?
We've got zip tape lying all
Yep.
over the place.
So if you look up here, this is how we decided to attack this, is we're going to tape completely all the way over these brackets. So as you see, we're completely taped over here. We will roll this out also per the zip system specs. And then you want to grab that other tape that's sitting right there.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And then what we're going to do is we're actually just going to take our Siga tape and we're going to, I'll do a little demonstration of how we want to do this one. So we need to figure out what's the best way to do this. So I think what we'll end up doing is we'll take a little right here, adhere it to that, and then we will spread this gap right here.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Yep.
So we're gonna have to come back, obviously, and fill this gap with insulation. It's a pretty big gap, so we'll probably either use a lot of spray foam or, mineral wool or fiberglass that we loosely pack into there, and then come back and tape over that.
Yep. So this is going to allow the space so you can put your trim boards here. It'll cover over on this, and this actually completes bringing our air barrier surface through the RO onto our window.
Perfect. All right, great, thanks.
Yep.